Grace One, and I'm your host, Brother Francis E. Revels-Bey. I'm the founder of the Circle Grace One. I established it back in the summer of July of 1974, and then many years later, had a chance to really seed it into the earth with a lot of teaching on July 2nd, 1999. That's my new logo back there that my cousin down in the great city of Atlanta, Georgia, helped me put together. This is an opportunity that we could do more and more and more. And there's always this golden opportunity to come on and share information. So basically, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to pretty much repeat a little bit what I was doing last night. I started out at 7 p.m. I don't think I got off until 10 p.m. Mountain Time, which was about midnight Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to try to, pop through here again for about 2 hours. And I got all of these, learning to have all these things set up so I could see what's going on and how it all looks all at the same time. So bear with me a little bit. I want to be checking things here. I'm going to try to do a little simultaneous broadcast through Instagram at the same time, and I'm up live on my YouTube channel right now. So, this is that time. There's so much is going on. I'm teaching these classes. I'm going to talk about uh, my friend's colleague's book. Elise, expressed the title of her book. And let me put a little greeting in here. I just made a brief announcement over on um, TikTok because over there I'm paired with one son. And in a minute, I'm going to switch my phone over to Instagram and go live and pick up some information that way as much as I can before the battery goes out. So, this is that opportunity where I try to come on and give more information. And of course, one of the things we're trying to do here is just let people know that I got information, I got courses, I got classes, I've got books, and I want people who are interested in the books who might be also interested in my classes. If you go over to www.circleofgrace1.us and then put a single forward slash so it doesn't introduce anything else into that link. Um, the first page that comes up, you see me wearing my blue fedora that I like to wear every now and then, called the Golden Halo, that Herc the Hatter and Beast by Guyton down in New Orleans put together. But it's an opportunity to talk about my 5 point creative path work system. So you can get information about that. And that's based on my book, Decree It Shall Be, that I did just last year. So I've got 6 books out there. I've got courses on the wisdom of Akhenaten as I am. I got a course, that's a 13-week course. I got a 13-week course on the gift, the wisdom of Nefertiti as I am. I also have a course on my selenite book that goes for about 10 to 13 weeks. And I have an additional few notes that gets added in for free with my selenite. So tonight I'm not talking about selenite. I got maybe just some small pieces here, but I'm not going to talk about selenite tonight. I'm going to gear this to more of the numerology. So let's see if I could get everything popping here at the same time. And so I see that I am there and just want to top chat. Yeah, I'm in my own chat. So I'm going to just get this ball rolling through divine power and by divine grace. All who get an opportunity to stop through this evening and watch this. May you be blessed in some kind of way for yourself. May it speak to you. And if it doesn't, it's okay. you know, take what you can get, and as they say, leave the rest. All this information that I'm putting out here is all copyrighted. I'm talking from my book, The Key to Life is Numerology, or last night I read from my Wisdom of Akhenaten as I Am, which is a copyrighted material. So all of this material is copyrighted. We do as best we can to protect the information that we put out there, because after all, sometimes a lot of people being their own when it's not. And so I wanted to get this out there to as many people as possible. Now I'm going to take this little iPhone, since I'm warming up a little bit here. I'm going to locate my Instagram channel, and I want to come through that way as well. Hold on just a second. Okay, you want to go live, live. So here we are. We have 20 followers active right now. They're going to be tuning in at some point, and I'll be on as long as I can through Instagram before the battery fails on the phone, which means I may have to hold it. So I'm on live simultaneously right now on my Instagram channel, uh, and I'm on YouTube through my iPad as well as my regular laptop here. And one of the things that's very important I want to get across to people is that this information out here can be found just about anywhere, but is learning how to apply it is the thing. And if you can learn how to apply information that you have, then of course it works out much better, right? There are a lot of people studying or getting back into studying numerology, or have been, like myself and my good friend Lloyd Strayhorn. Lloyd Strayhorn has been studying numerology for 50 years, perhaps, much longer than I have. And I've been applying myself for 48 years with numerology, and I know Lloyd. Hey, Hema, I know Lloyd way back in 1978. I've known Lloyd for 44 years, and I'll be on Lloyd Strayhorn's show, live with Lloyd, coming up on Wednesday evening, December the 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, he broadcasts simultaneously live with Lloyd through Facebook, Instagram, and five other channels. So everybody could join in from around the world, literally. He has over 3,700 students or 3,100 students worldwide reading all of his materials, taking his classes and things. So I've been on Lloyd's live with Lloyd. He, as his first guest, was back in 2021 on Wednesday. I think we went on August the 25th, and then we came around on January the 2nd of 2022, and he had me on again, and then he had me on this year again on July the 25th, which was a Wednesday. So this time I'm going on for the third time, December the 28th of 2022. And we're going to be talking about numerology and how we are able to use it as a divination art, as well as a metaphysical science all to itself. And so people can get this. Now, before I jump into my material, one of the things I want to talk about, I was on here last night, and I do things according to what my ancestors tell me. So in the past, I was going on randomly, like once every other week, sometimes a different night or whatever. And then I started going on some Monday nights. And then recently, Spirit just hit me and said, let's do Friday night and see what happens. We did Friday night, which was last night. And then while I was out and about today, my ancestors spoke to me and said, hey, why don't you come on and do this thing on tonight? early. So I'm on 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you're on the East Coast, it's 9 p.m. Last night I tried to go for 2 hours and it turned into a 3 hour bash. So I'm not going to be on the Instagram but so long because my battery is like 46%. And, so once it goes, it goes. But what I talked about last night that I'm going to talk about tonight is my numerology course that's going to start on Wednesday night, February the 1st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll run, each class will run for approximately 90 minutes. Hey there, Sister McDonald. She's over here on my YouTube channel. And when you take that course, there is what I call a early bird special fee. And the doors will open soon. In a few more weeks, they'll open up on Monday, January the 2nd, and it'll roll all the way up to January the 18th. You can get the course, those full 18 weeks, consecutive classes, one after another on a Wednesday night, starting February the 1st, for $293. And the way I'm going to teach that course is some of the material will be taught back to back. Some of the material will have a review class that follows the following week. So there's at least about six of those uh, review classes, which are technically free classes. And then you have 12 paid classes throughout. And we're going to start looking at names first. Why? Because you can see a lot of different dynamics of trying to figure out how to express a person's name according to numbers. And so we're going to look at that first because there's a lot of compartments when you're studying the name. You've got the vowels, you got the consonants, you got the first name. If the person's carrying a middle name, that has something to tell you as well. You got first letter of the first name, you got the first vowel that pops up in the name. Some names have two consonants and then the vowel. So we'll get into that as well. So the name has a way of expressing itself, and you can see the characteristics of a person's name, even in letters that are missing, number values that are missing. That's something that a person has to strengthen if they're using their full name, which happens to be a middle name involved. Some people just have an initial they care to use, and the rest of the name. And then that's the first part. Then there'll be a review of the first part that will kick in. And then we will jump in to looking at the person's date of birth. So we'll look at the birthday number. We'll look at the destiny number, which many people call the life path number. We're going to look at something that I have called the angle of destiny. And I've been using that since about 1979. That's when it came to me to start putting that in there. We'll look at the cycles of the destiny, which is governed by one part of the birthday and then the birthday number and then the birth year. And then we're going to build on something called pinnacles and challenges. And the pinnacles and challenges is like an overall map of what is going on in your life and what else you can do to improve your life for yourself. So there's going to be some things that we can definitely play around with when we're using numerology. And I like to make it an interactive course. Later on in the year, I'm going to split it in half. So we'll work out the name, we'll work out the date of birth, and that'll have a completely different fee to itself. So if you catch the early bird fee from January the 2nd to January the 18th, you can get the full course and it's a live video teaching course at $293. If you miss that gate, and you want to make payments a little later, those other payments with the regular fee of $400 kicks in on January the 19th and ends on February the 19th. And all you got to do is drop the first payment of that so you can get in the door because we're going to start the class. We're going to hit the class on February the 1st. Now, we might have a large crowd or a small crowd. I'm old school. If I got two, you're getting it. If you're the only one, you're getting it. So, giving people time, no one will be able to get into the course after February the 19th closes out. So it leaves plenty of time for people to get things together. You can go to my website and see all the other courses and classes that I teach that I've already have taught. These prices that I offer are for group format, each individual in the group, or one-on-one. Okay. Now, some people also like to say, well, I don't want to take a whole course. Could I just try out a class, a few classes? If you try out just a few classes, then it's $88 per class. So if you take one, two, or three, or you take one on numerology, and you take one, let's say I'm developing a course in dreams. You take one on dreams, you take one on selenite, you take one on this. Or you decide, okay, I can't take this course back to back every week. So you might want to go every other week. Then, you would be paying something like 176 bucks a month because you're taking it every other week, in accordance. So it may go a little longer, but there are other courses that are set, like the selenite course is, I think I have that set at $444, something like that. And so you can pay it. We can work all of that out for you. So what I want to do is talk about my friend's book first. And last night we talked about dreams. We're going to talk about a few other things that pop up that are good to talk about. One of the things is my friend and colleague whose center that I teach at. It's a metaphysical esoteric school here in the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it's called Resonant Essentials. To her podcast channel is at www.youtube.com/resonant, RESONANT essentials, ESSENTIALS. And you can go, and I broadcast there every Thursday for about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, every Thursday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time or 1:30 p.m. Mountain Time, which on the East Coast, you just add 2 more hours to it. And I'm on her channel on YouTube, and I talk about a variety of subject matter, usually things that we experience that we could put to rest or build ourselves up automatically. So here's her brand new book, her first book. I like this cover, man. I told her I like to steal this cover, but I can't. She's like my sister. This is Michelle Vidal. She uses the initials DM Vidal. Powerhouse numbers. She's into numerology too. It's called Mastering Metaphysics, the Essential Foundations and Principles. Now, if you were living out here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, she's starting her course. She's starting her course on a Tuesday night. I think it's at 5:30 to 7:30. She's doing her first beta course on this book. She's doing her first beta course on this book. Now, sometimes what she does, and I don't have enough room here to do it, but she teaches live. You walk into the metaphysical esoteric school teaching live, and she's also doing it through Zoom at the same time. So people who are out of state or who are home in the city and can't quite make it, to the class, they can stay home and take the course. And I think she said her course, beta course, is going to run for 11 weeks, and it's going to be based on her book. She has a lot of knowledge, man. This woman knows how to teach people how to become evidentiary mediums, how to also use a little bit of numerology, also a little bit of astrology. But her thing is in the old fashioned, metaphysical training schools, they have a thing called the billets. These are things that a person would write something in an envelope, person would get it and get the feeling out of it and read it. She teaches stuff like that. She also teaches how to work with a crystal ball. She also teaches how to work with candle flames. She knows a lot of stuff. Now, I know a lot of those things too, but I don't have time to teach them all. So I let her teach it. I'm at her center every Saturday for an hour, and I teach meditation, which I'm actually teaching creative pathwork meditation. And coming out in 2024, I have a brand new book devoted to my Creative Path Work Meditation series, and also how to tap into the silent chamber within yourself so you can connect with your higher self. And that's going to be a whole nother course to itself. I might have to teach that course in compartments, like a couple of classes at a time, workshop classes at a time, because there's so much information. But it's going to be 7 to 8 different ways to bring yourself through meditation in touch with your higher self. Now, a long time ago, back in the 1990s, I started the Creative Pathwork Meditation series, and one of the people here, Willow Rose 888, who's watching me through Instagram, she knew back then I was doing them then. I started teaching them back in 1997 and also in 1996 on Long Island. So I was doing them all over the place. And I had a guided meditation that was called, I have it on audio cassette right now, called Meeting Your Higher Self. And it was a whole technique how to connect with your higher self through a guided journey. And I'm going to pull that thing out and I'm going to stick it in the book. But when I teach the course, people are going to experience it live as a live video training, intensive training course. So, one of the things that is good about it, and let me see if I can get her face up here. This is a picture of my friend, DM Vidal, Michelle Vidal. I met her in 2012, then we met again in 2015, and I gave her some insight at an evening of remembrance with myself, Brother Francis, at a cafe here in Albuquerque, and it confirmed that she was going to be writing books and that she was going to open up her metaphysical esoteric school. So she has a lot of information. And what is this book? Her book sells for $13.99 on Amazon. You can get her book for $13.99 on Amazon. If you look it up, you'll also see the Kindle version there as well. So you can get her stuff on Kindle as well. I only have a few books on Kindle. Um, when I do that meditation book, though, I'm going to lay that thing out on Kindle myself. I might put it in the bigger Kindle format that they have. Who else do we have here? J. Paulette Designs. How you doing? Let me wave you in here. So I'm Brother Francis. I'm known on TikTok as Pyramid One Son. I'm the guy that I had put a lot of things up on numerology, on dreams. That was the biggest likes that I got that were on dreams. I've done some things on affirmations and decrees, and hopefully, if I got the energy, I'll do it at the wee hours of the morning. So when people get up on TikTok, they'll click on and they'll hear some beautiful affirmations and decrees. So one of the things I'm going to talk about a little bit now, you can always, if you are in uh, Instagram, as long as my battery doesn't die, you'll hear me talk about my course on numerology. And one of the things is, there, as again, for the people joining here, Instagram is $293 early bird price. But if you miss that gate, then on January the 19th to February the 19th, it goes up to $400. So let me get out of that. Enough commercial talking. One of the things I'll be able to do tonight is some quick numerology readings on birth dates. One of the things I like to do too, and Mr. Lloyd Strayhorn does this, he usually asks for three numbers. It came to me that I'll ask you for a color and a number. And that means you might use a 3-digit number, you might compound number of 2 digits, could be a master number, whatever comes to mind that way. Whatever comes to mind, there's an answer. And then the color has a lot with that answer at the same time in that moment. Also, I will talk about dreams, the importance of dreams. A little bit was touched upon last night about developing yourself so you would recognize what is called lucid dreaming, LUCID, lucid dreaming. And that's very important nowadays because we're being bombarded by a lot of electronical things going on. You know, we're on these cell phones, we're on laptops, we're on iPads, you name it. But you know, your smart TV, and you got all kind of things rolling through it. I remember, to give you an example of how things work, where quote unquote, the if you're not careful, certain things or personalities start following you. And I had, let me see, the year was 1994. That was the year. I was seeking pen pals. So I would go on, you know, online if I could do it, or I would find these magazines that talked about pen pals. Now, I wasn't looking for a relationship, I was just looking for some people across the United States or across the waters that had an interest in metaphysics, physics, numerology, palmistry. I only knew a little bit about the tarot cards, colors, chakras, things of that nature, maybe Tai Chi or Qigong, you know, just to interact. And I met this wonderful lady. She was from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Ann Arbor, Michigan. And she and I used to write letters back and forth. And one day she met this guy that took a liking to her, and he came to Ann Arbor, Michigan several times, and they got to know each other. And he invited her out to California, and she had this Scottish Terrier kind of dog, you know, the ones with a lot of hair in the face, and you can just see their eyes and a cute little nose. Well, the dog's name was Cochise. And so he told her, bring Cochise with you. Don't put him with somebody else. Bring Cochise with you. And let's, you know, let him run around in my apartment complex. I don't care. I have a cat. I think they'll get along. So she started attending some of his events. He was very much into crop circles, trying to study that. He was into crystals, but he was dealing with meditation groups in real large groups and open areas. Like they would go to State Park, something like that, and they would form a circle and they would start getting into that vibration. And one of the things she said that he was into at the time was the Merkaba, how that works within yourself. And he was teaching people how to generate that kind of energy. And they would work in a circle of 55, 60 people at a time, holding hands in the circle. Maybe the smallest circle, she said, was about 10 people. But the thing was, he didn't know at the time that he had been doing this for almost a year, and he was a nice guy. I didn't get a chance to meet him. She showed me a picture of him. I could tell by his photograph, he was like to me, he's like an angel. You know, he carried a lot of purity within his heart. But this one particular time, after her dating him, I think over 6 months to a year, they went into this open field, and I think she said it was Big Sewer down there. I've never been in that part of that area where that's located in California, but he was out there doing this work. Now, he's teaching people how to get in contact internally with your Merkaba and kind of fly, go to places together. And by using groups, you generate more energy and you could feel things moving. Well, as time went on, she kept traveling back and forth. He would travel to see her. This one last time, she was going to see him, and they had finished doing the work early in the morning, and then they came back to his apartment complex where he lived. And she said they're sitting there, and her dog starts running rampant all over his living room. She's never saw her dog Cochise do that. She says poor Cochise was like frantic, like he saw something that frightened him. And she said after a while he jumped off the couch, ran through the living room, and he had one of those apartments where you can look into the kitchen, into the dining area and living room, and he scooted down the hallway toward the front door. And then he kept coming back and forth, going and coming. They were watching TV, and they saw a series of letters and digits go across the bottom of the screen. So he's looking at this and he said, well, what's that about? So he flips the channel. He'd see it again. He flipped to another channel. He'd see it again. So he decided to call one of his neighbors who lived across the quad, so to speak, to see if his friend was home. Told the friend, hey, do me a favor. I turned on my TV set, me and the lady that I'm dating. We're trying to watch TV, and all I see is a series of characters, numbers, symbols going across the bottom of the screen. He said, this is on about every major channel. Could you turn on your TV, same channel, and tell me what you see? So his friend said, I don't see anything. He says, really? Go to the next channel. I don't see anything. Went to a third one. I don't see anything. Tell you what, let's go to one of those other channels. And went to a whole nother channel. Bam, he had those same digits floating at the bottom of the screen. So he said, wait a minute, I don't understand what's going on, but thanks anyway. So he's sitting there and the dog is running frantic in a circle, hopping up in her lap, hopping up in her lap and his lap, snuggling between the both of them. Finally, the dog burst down the hallway. Now, where they were seated, you could see the hallway. The dog is running full blast toward the door, front door to his apartment. The dog was barking frantically. And then all of a sudden, the dog let out this sound that she said the dog was literally frightened. The dog turned around, didn't cower underneath the table or anything, came straight for them and jumped over the couch between the wall and the window, because he had enough space there where that dog could jump and slip down back there. She went to try to reach the dog. The dog was just cowering. So he told her to wait. He goes down the hallway. He opens the door, but just enough so whoever's out there can't really see past him. When he opens the door, she hears some conversation, and then she hears him go, okay, okay, okay. He closed the door. He came back. He had his pale face. She said, hon, what happened? You were at the door for about 10 minutes. He says, I've been visited by the guys with the suits and the ties and the hats and the steely eyes. She said, what are you talking about? He said, I never thought I would see something. The quote unquote men in black kind of vibration. But they had my name. They had my mom's name, my dad's name, my siblings, where they lived. And they told me to stop what I'm doing. And I told them, what are you talking about? They told him, you know what we're talking about. And we want you to stop what you're doing. Don't go any further. Stop. If you don't stop, you won't see your folks again. When he started to talk to her, he decided, let me see if those signatures or whatever those things are. He starts turning on the TV, said he didn't see him again. But he felt not just scared, not just threatened, but a whole nother heightened vibration. She stayed for about another week. Then she returned to Ann Arbor, Michigan. I remember her writing me because she didn't want to call. She was figuring, who knows? Maybe they got some way of tapping her line to see who she's going to talk to. So she put together a letter. She waited and mailed me that letter. In the letter, it said, be very careful about the things you tap into. We know we're always talking about going down the rabbit hole, trying to figure out the puzzle pieces. She said, my boyfriend literally had not only himself threatened, but his family, his entire family threatened by these particular agents. So, Francis, I know you're doing some heavyweight work. Be careful. Now, at that time, when this was going on, I was studying things revolving around the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project. Somehow I came across all of that. And I was trying to put together uh, the things that I could discern. And I'm not going to say I know everything because I was just touching the surface. Being a numerologist, I was looking at a little bit of the biorhythms. And I know like the earth has its own biorhythmic cycle. And when people are doing time travel, the people involved in the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project, they're one and the same. They're one and the same project. I mentioned last night, this is like common knowledge, so I don't expect to be attacked. This is common knowledge. It's already been out there. But the Philadelphia experiment, there was a movie about it. The Philadelphia experiment jumped off on August the 12th, 1943. Prior to that time, it was being tested and not being successful. In the beginning, only the guys on the naval submarine, all they knew was they were creating a sonar type of sound vibration that was being designed to interrupt the waves in terms of electrical waves so that a ship could not be seen in the water, be literally invisible, whether it's all, up floating or in the body of the water. Now, that's what the guys in general knew about. So they were able to see on the sonar where their ship is, and then it blanks, they don't see it. Other people, if I'm not mistaken, were able to see that ship in Philadelphia and at the same time see the same ship. So it was about jumping time travel. But here's the other kicker. It was tied to a project, which was the same date, but 40 years into the future. Same people involved. Now, I'm from Long Island. I lived in Hempstead, Long Island, New York, in Nassau County. I've lived in Freeport. I lived in Uniondale. And when I lived in Uniondale, I had some crazy experiences I'll share with you. Might, if it comes to mind, to share it with you tonight of something that I experienced. And in the beginning, it wasn't, it was powerful and scary all at the same time, and then powerful and protective all at the same time. And then being here in Albuquerque, I experienced something, and I think it was 2016, and but that was very positive. But it was weird. I'll just call it weird. And then later in 2017, going someplace and experiencing something, feeling energy. So let me get back to this story because I like to tell this story to people. This thing that this guy was talking, what he went through was how those of us in this metaphysical field can tap into things without realizing that we're tapping into things. So when I was studying this thing about the Philadelphia experiment connected to the Montauk Project, and here I was living on Long Island, about maybe 3 to 4 hours away west of the Montauk area, I met a gentleman whose name I mentioned last night. Uh, uh, an elder friend of my mother's had taken me to a Dowsing Association meeting on a Sunday, and it was her birthday. It was in March of 1998, and this gentleman was there by the name of Stuart Swerdlow, Swerdlow, Stuart, Stuart, and he was someone that was connected to all the experiments that were happening in the Montauk Project. And it went beyond time travel, but it was really talking about changing history, where the government, the military intelligence forces, which are spread out amongst the four branches of the military that we have here in the United States, they have people where they train them to do these things. Many of you may have heard of what is called remote viewing. There's a guy by the name of Ingo Swan, Swan or Swann. I believe he's supposed to have been an artist, but he was supposed to be the person who got into what is called remote viewing and had put it together, maybe coined it that. But very many military governments around the world have taken their soldiers, taken their engineers that have the right frame of mind and trained them to become psychic spies. They still are psychic spies today. So here we have these different things that are going on. And things such as astrology, people who have mastered astrology to some degree, or like Lloyd and myself, we do a lot of numerology and we teach students. You can use these things to raise your frequency to tap into higher frequencies. And at some point, if you study numerology, astrology, palmistry, what else? If you study working with crystals, regular tarot cards, regular deck of cards, work with pendulums. At some point, you're going to raise your frequency and you're going to be able to tap into higher frequencies. Well, when I was studying this, just tapping into it, didn't know what I was getting into, just tapping because I had an interest. I realized, I don't know if any of you are from the East Coast, you might be, if you, and I mentioned this last night, I believe the date was July 12th or 13th of 1977. There was a major brownout on the East Coast that went all the way up, I think, into Canada a little bit, and all the way down the East Coast, I believe, touch it into Florida. And it was called a brownout or blackout. But the thing about it, it lasted for several days, maybe a week or so. You have to look it up. But the most important thing about it was tied to all this other stuff. But it was interesting. It didn't end on a 3. The year ended on a 7, 1977. But I remember being in a movie theater on August the 12th, 2003. And I mentioned this last night, August 12th, 2003, another brownout occurred. Automatically, I remember people saying must be 9/11, 2001, 9/11. It's got to be a hit somewhere. And I kept going, no, it's not that. We're living in 2003, another 40 years from 1983. And here we are, 40. In fact, next year, we're going to hit that. So 1983 to 2003 was 20 years. Next year, a full another 20 years. I wonder what might pop up around August the 12th of 2023. Be good to kind of tune in, put on your thinking cap, raise your vibration of yourself, and start tuning in and shield yourself up. Put a lot of love out and light onto the planet. Lots of things going on. Just recently, people talk about the 1212 portal. A lot of things happened. There was where I live, there was a fire on the premises somewhere. 1212 between 3 a.m. and 3:30 in the morning. Fire breaks out. Didn't affect any of the four apartments, but it affected the leasing office. And I heard that there were a lot of little mini fires around the city going off. People's homes, cars, you name it. Crime. Crime wave was kind of high, yet kind of low at the same time. So there's a lot of things that go on under all of these different portals of energy. And I always tell everybody, No matter what you study, the strongest thing that you can study is meditation. It's the easiest thing that you can study. You learn more about yourself seated in a daily meditation, whether it's in the early morning, before dawn, or just when you wake up, mid morning, like 10 a.m., midday, 12 to 1 or 1 to 2, and then you do it uh, before you go to sleep at night. Learn how to develop your meditation skills so you can become more centered and more sensitive to the environment in which you live in. And not only the environment in which you live in within your immediate surroundings, but your entire neighborhoods. So you can tune into the energy, so you can detect what might be going on in your block. Now, I don't say that to scare anybody because, on some level, we're supposed to raise our energy up. So it's more natural to be able to tune in to the different things that we see or feel going around ourselves. Animals do it. Dogs can hear things 2 miles away. I think cats can as well. Dogs and cats, they know your rhythm, your cycle. They know when you're coming home, when you're leaving. They seem to face the door. Whatever door you're going to come through, they go there and sit and wait on you. And all they think about is you. They're not thinking about whatever else that might be happening at home. They're thinking, where are you, human? Who man? Who woman? Where are you? Oh, you're making a stop at the grocery store? Oh, you're stopping to visit Aunt Sally? Oh, you're stopping to visit your brother? Oh, you're going to work late tonight. Oh, who else is coming home? Start tuning into those figures that come home. We are going back where we are like our ancestors who could read the energy of the earth, who could read the winds, who can tell, hey, in the jungle areas and the tropical areas, all of a sudden you don't see any insects. All of a sudden you don't see any birds flying. All of a sudden you don't, and the birds are supposed to be there. All of a sudden you notice the animals are going uphill. They don't have a manual. They read energy through their body and they know something is about to happen. They're moving, migrating upward. Why? More protection. They know if something's going to come down, at least they'll be on the top and ride it down and not be on the bottom and get crushed by whatever's going on. We will become like them. Just like people have domesticated cats and dogs. And what has happened? Cats and dogs are diabetic. Who would have known? I remember having them as pets at home. Never heard of a dog being diabetic, a cat being diabetic. Maybe for the most part, they have problems seeing, but never knowing, even when you took them to the vet, they never had human diseases. That was back in the 40s and the 50s. But now they do. The things that have hit us hard hit them hard. And for those of you who are capable of having a fur child, as they say, in your house, that's a blessing. Because to have them in your home with you, they keep your energy up high. Because what? They're walking around on 2 feet, 4 feet. You might have your children with ferrets and lizards and birds. They're closer to the ground. So they're reading the energy right off the ground where you're higher up, like a skyscraper. You're reading the energy up here. They're down there reading that low energy. They're feeling the wind current, the magnetism in your house. So they're picking up on things that are maybe that you have no idea that's going on. So I say these things because we need to start paying attention. That's very important. We need to begin to pay attention. Now, I'm not saying this like I'm preaching this to you. It's just a feeling that I have. I don't know if I'm on point yet or off point. I was just told today by my immediate ancestors. I call the Circle of Grace one, the Circle of Grace one, because that person was my my biological mother, whose first name was Grace, and she is the one who wanted to have a spiritual metaphysical circle. She was a astute student of studying Bible passages, but she was a Rosicrucian member and she was an Astara member. When she was growing up in the South in Thomasville, Georgia, and Douglasville, Georgia, her parents were Eastern Stars and Prince Hall Masons. I didn't have a clue what any of that stuff meant, but they studied the Bible in and out. But as she got older and migrated to New York, she started studying these other metaphysical things and started developing herself. My mother could read a psalm, sing Amazing Grace to you, read a psalm, and then tell you about your ancestors. She would have a glass of water in front of her, and she could read the vibration off water. Now, she didn't take any classes per se, but as a Rosicrucian and a person who studies those Astara teachings, those kind of things are there. But she knew that stuff naturally. She had an inkling of those things naturally. And all she was trying to do was pass it on to me. I got it. But I don't have it like she has it. She has that, what you call, that mother wit style. Is one of the things about the people of the South or anywhere. And I had to learn it the hard way because when I read people, I say too much. I might describe too much. But the way they said it, whatever came first to you in your mind and in your heart, you say that. Don't try to change it around because when you change it around, your ego gets in the way and then the person really doesn't get the message. And it took me years. I'm 70 years old in March of this year. It took me a long time. It took me the last, I've been doing this I've been doing this 48 years as of July 2nd of 1974 when I established the Circle of Grace One. But out of them 48 years, it is the last 10 or 15 years where I'm just letting it fly. I just let it come. And I describe what I'm hearing. And I describe what I'm feeling to the best of my ability so I don't taint it. And it works out a lot better. I do numerology charts different. People just talk about numbers. You get a numerology chart typed up from me. I got my ancestors speaking in there. My mother Grace is giving me stuff to tell you. Her mother, which is my grandma Charlotte, is giving me stuff to tell you. I get my guides, the beloved Akhenaten and Nefertiti from way out here inside of me, tell me to say something. Sometimes I get something from some of the other ascended masters to tell you. Usually I tell you in the front or at the end of the chart, or sometimes in the middle. They might stop me and say this. I don't know why. I don't know how. I just know follow the message and give you the information. So these things are important for us. Do your best to meditate daily. If you can't do it every day, pick 3 times a week if you can. Maybe kick it off on a Sunday. Great day if you can. And when you start out, sometimes because it can be a bit much, sometimes you got to journal your dreams, you got to journal your meditation experiences, whatever else other disciplines that you're studying. But sometimes it does pay to take a break. I told my students today, I've told them for the last couple of weeks, on the Saturday classes that are only an hour long, I tell them, don't meditate if you are extremely upset about something. Why? Because the energy that you're upset about doesn't get pushed or cleared out the way. It rides on that frequency into the universe, turns around, and it comes back to you, doubled up, tripled up. It's very difficult to meditate under those circumstances. Don't meditate if you are extremely tired. That's like if you are so tired from your job, you try to drive home, try to drive to the nearest place where you can park your vehicle, get out and sleep a little bit. Go to a nice motel or inn if you can. Go by a friend's house if you can. And tell your friend, hey, I'm exhausted. Can I just crash for a few minutes just to get my bearings? They may not say I can't come in the house. Or can I sleep in your driveway? It's nice and warm out. Let me sleep in your driveway just to relax in my car. You have to know when to do something and when not to do something. But what I'm saying is you want to come to the table dressed with the right amount of energy so that you can be clear in issuing energy and be clear about the energy that you are receiving. That's very important. If you're not doing that, then things will be a little off kilter. There are going to be some days when you meditate, you're not getting anything. But what's happening is you are building up energy within yourself. The most important thing to do while you're in a state of meditation is to simply breathe. Just pay attention to how you are breathing, how you gather the air in through the nostrils and let it back out through the nostrils, or how you can clear. There's some yogic style breathing where you could inhale through, close down one nostril, inhale through one, and go back out through the same one. Close the other one down and do the same thing if you were opening up the right nostril. These follow the courses of energy called Pingala, Pingala, and Ida. One of them relates to the lunar channel in your body, and the other relates to the solar channel in your body. So you learn how to clear the energy out of the nasal passage, but you're clearing your lungs on a higher vibration. You learn how to take all that prana, as they call it in India, prana, Prana. In Japanese, it's called ki. The Chinese, qi, but anglicized is chi, which is chi. It's all one and the same. People talk about orgone energy, to protect. And I mentioned one of my sisters, who's like a little sister to me, her son gave me this as a gift. I forget what year he gave it to me, but he had a friend of his that makes these, and they know I like selenite, so this one has in the gel itself that little white part right there. That's selenite that's in there, shards of selenite, and that copper. So this is a copper ring in here with selenite, and what this does is reflect the energy coming off of the computer, the laptop, the energy out. And I got a shungite piece behind there. You can sometimes wear shungite as a ring, a bracelet, a wrist bracelet, ankle bracelet, earlobe. You can wear it. Sometimes we got to study various things to unlock the vibration within ourselves so it can expand. It can move out and not be compacted on top of us. So at times when we are studying what we are studying, we want to be able to master ourselves. That's what it's about. Self mastery. And it takes a lifetime. I mean, the monks of the Himalayan mountains, they had a chance to go up into the mountains, to stay in the monasteries and sit on the edges of a mountain. Not everybody can do that because you got to be in absolute control of yourself and full knowledge of your surroundings because energy can flow through you as the open door. In my book, Akhenaten says, the wisdom of Akhenaten as I am, you are the open door, but you become that after you experience silence within yourself. Once you experience silence within yourself, then you can begin to hear the messages on the inside of yourself. You have to get to a point where you could hear the messages. There's my friend BJ Smith 5. BJ Smith is astronumerologist, one of Lloyd's students. He's one of my selenite students, but he is also a gentleman that deals with wellness, and he is a pranic healer. He's into the pranic sciences, and he could tell you a lot of things. So, in fact, I should encourage people when you're in the chat to get to know each other. You never know who you need to help you do what you need to do, who could help you go to another level when it's necessary. So, these things, it's like some of the things I talked about last night, the Montauk Project, all of these things are not far fetched. I mentioned a guy by the name of, his last name is O'Donnell, O apostrophe capital D Onnell. I think his first name was George, but he's out of Florida and he talks about remote viewing. And that guy goes pretty deep. He calls the divine prime creator the one, and he gets this message that high up. There's so many people. Like I said, Ingo Swann was another. Back in the 1970s, United States government, they had all these places, colleges and institutes that studied dreams, studied the mind. There's places like NYU, Duke University was one, um, Stanford University, around there out in California. They also had an institute out in Menlo Park. They had them up in Michigan. All of these places were set up for years and years and years of study in the 1940s and the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, developing people, developing the psychic sense, the intuitive sense, the empathic nature to create what they call the psychic spy and to let you know how well they used it. Hello, Carib JS55. The way they used it was awesome. Remember when they were trying to find Saddam Hussein? They lost track of him. And then they said, oh, we found him. Oh, we found him in a bunker. But they didn't tell you how they found him until years later. The people who were trained to do this remote viewing, they didn't leave it where you just like one person in a room. No, they put 10, 15, 20 people in a room that were trained at the highest level where they began to tune into him. Why? Because they had an awareness like a map where his quote unquote home or compound was at. They had that. Each one of them had a picture. And what were they doing? Tuning into the property. Tuning into the property. Tuning in and getting a feeling. Until they discovered that he wasn't inside the residence of the compound, he was outside. But where was he outside was the question. And they began to just use the pictures of what they had, aerial shots, and also some inside spies around there who were able to relay information back throughout the country that, okay, he's still on the premises. We don't know where he is, but we have not seen him come in and out of the compound residence. We have not seen him being driven onto the grounds with all the security. So, what remote viewers were capable of doing, they were capable of this, tuning into whomever was around him, tune into whomever was around him. That means you get a vibration about someone who's the closest to him at some point, and you realize you start locking in, and they start describing that person. And then at some point, this is what takes place. And I'm just paraphrasing it a bit. What takes place is they know who is going to and from where he's at. They sense or can smell food. They can sense and smell food. Now they have something to work with. That food is prepared in the house or whatever level, but is brought outside the house. Now they start locking in. And what they were able to lock in was a little bit of vegetation on the ground and what I think was like a pot on the ground. But it's just not a regular vase because they had the little things set up, because who knows? Anybody could trigger and find him if they're really looking for him. But they did find him. And when they found him, he was all the way down in a cubby hole, maybe about 6 feet down, maybe. So he had a ladder to come in and out. And of course, when they caught him, his hair was like a Don King. It was way out here and he had a beard. But they found him in the ground. They did that with a team of remote viewers trained to psychic spy trained to find him. That's how unique it was. And the first time I heard about remote viewing was there was a PBS station when I was on Long Island, public broadcast station, and they were talking about Russian psychics. They got a Russian, high-powered Russian psychic, flew him to the United States, put him 5, 10 stories up in a hotel, cover all the windows so he can't see out. Put him at what feels like a conference table. Hey there, Taurus gal. Put him at what feels like a conference table. Then they had 5 targets, I think, 4 to 5 targets. They were in St. Louis, Missouri. That's one of the key cities that they brought this guy to. He's in a hotel where he can't see out the window, and they have maybe 1 or 2 people watching him so that he can't go to the window and peer out. If he needed to go to the restroom, someone could walk him right inside the room or whatever to the restroom so he don't peer out the window or peer or find anything and bring him back and sit down. Which means they probably. But the ironic thing here, symbolic thing here, was this guy, what he was able to do was phenomenal. They had about 3 or 4 targets. Each target was given like a manila envelope. On the inside, it had a sheet with a map, an image, and an address. And what they were supposed to do, they would drive, maybe one or two people together would drive to these target locations. Their job, once they found it, was to stand there and just be open. In other words, they were being used like an open door, just to be open. Why they were being open, this gentleman, he would have a picture of them, not a picture of what they had in the envelope, just a picture of them. And what they did was shuffle these pictures up. He just picks one. You only got to pick one. He don't need all four of them. Pick one. He picked the one picture. He tuned into the person, kept tuning into the person. And then things began to happen within about an hour's time, because they said he was in this room for a long period of time. He was just there for a moment, 4 hours, maybe 5 hours, maybe 6 hours. But within about an hour's time or less, he started to smell something. He told him he could smell something that was like smoke or oil. And he would write it down, smoke or oil. And he saw something that he described like a canal. And what he described was a tugboat. He actually drew it. He had like a pad. He drew the tugboat in the canal. But here's the most significant thing. He saw a bridge spanning over this canal. He saw trucks going across the canal. And since they were in St. Louis, Missouri, he saw the big arch. He drew that into the picture. He began to describe in detail what he smelled, what he saw, and then where that person strategically was standing. He did all of that, I think, within about 4 or 5 hours. When he got all the information, they called the targets back in. He showed what he had. The target pulled it out and showed him the picture. A picture of a tugboat on a canal, a bridge with vehicles like trucks going across, and in the distance, the arch. In all that amount of time, he was able to get that much information in detail. That's something anybody can learn how to do. But usually, when you learn it the way that people were trained, they have you use a lot of adjectives to explain something, and almost like you're making up words as you go along. You might say something like, I feel cold, cooler, damper. You use that. Why? Because it triggers you to go a little deeper to describe something. But over time, you can do it. You can develop yourself to see something like that. And that's not in the future. That's the energy of the present moment around yourself. But if once you can do that, you can employ it in different ways. There's a lot of people who have studied these things. Many of you may have heard of Billy Carson. Billy Carson studied with an Army major, retired Army major, who taught him some of the mechanics and some of the detailed ways of doing um, remote viewing. There's so many more people who really have taken it to whole new heights. And they do it for companies, corporations, you name it. The same can be done for dowsing. There's a lot of people out here in Albuquerque going all the way down to Los Lunas, and they're called the Willowbrook Benders, or the Willow Benders. and one of their lead people is a retired NASA engineer. This guy creates all kind of invents all kind of things with copper wheels, changing frequencies around his property, and he shows how to use um, the dowsing rods and how you can walk around and divine an area and feel where water and things of those are at. And he talks about the science of that, how to get into that practice. I used to study pendulums. I still do. And some people say, well, pendulums is kind of a quirky thing. It's like a hit and miss. It's not really a hit and miss. But what happens is if you don't clear your ego away, you'll get a misread. It is the same thing when a person has studied the tarot cards. The tarot cards are regular playing deck of cards. They know what the cards mean in every possible layout, but they didn't get rid of their ego. So now they're reading themselves about something going on in their life. And what happens is it doesn't come out clear because their ego nature doesn't want to accept the answer that's placed before it. So it'll change. It'll change up terminology and words, push things aside. Why? Because thing keeps coming up. Ego can't overcome it. So the person doesn't want to listen to it. It is the same thing in any discipline. If you're trying to help somebody and you're using tarot cards, you're using palmistry, you're using gemstones, you're throwing bones, throwing dice, you name it, throwing cards, anything that can assist somebody, and then they sit there and tell you, no, that's not me. No, that's not me. No, 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 that's not me. And all the time, you start going the other way. Let me read their body language. And their body language says, yeah, it is them. They're just in a state of denial. So we learn things on a different level. Let me get a little glass of water here. We learn things on a different level. And we learn how to apply those things first and foremost to ourselves. It's like when you're studying numerology. When I teach this course out here in Albuquerque, I'm teaching people to read the first target in their life, and that's themselves. Why? You know yourself to some degree. You know who you are. You know what you're about. You know what you like or dislike. So you can read yourself and see if it matches you in some kind of way. After you can look at your own name and your own date of birth, see where you're headed. You might try with the permission of your mate, life mate. Why? I want to see if your character align with the meaning of the numbers. So you start developing. People don't believe it when I tell them in 44 years, 48 years, that I've done close to 30, 40,000 reports or charts. I'm not bragging. I just know I've done that many. Some I don't even keep. First 10 years, I used to keep all the records handwritten, typed up in an old typewriter, and just keeping all these things. After a while, I just had to get rid of the stuff. Thousands of charts, thousands of analysis. I had to get rid of them. It's too much stuff. Only to find myself harboring more. So you get in, you're like a scientist in a lab. You get in there and you're trying to figure out what these numbers mean. And the thing about numerology and especially astrology is you learn how, and palmistry and the tarot, you learn how to become a storyteller. Once you know what those things mean for you and for the person in front of you, now you begin to create the story about them. And it takes time to develop that. Not everybody can do it overnight. People ask me, well, how do you become accurate? Well, I become as close as I can. But I do use what I mentioned earlier, meditation. I'll take the entire week and just sound out the person's name in my mind. Sign, I will whisper it. Let's say the person's name was Carol Corrine Johnson. If that was the person's name, I would go, Carol. Hi, Carol. Corrine. That's a pretty name, Corrine Johnson. Is that your maiden name, married name, birth name? And I would treat that name energetically as though the person's right next to me or right in front of me. I'm walking throughout my residence repeating that person's name. I'm saying, Carol Johnson or Corrine Johnson. Corrine. Is that spelled with a C or a K? Then I start, you know, tuning in. Corrine, that's more gentle, softer. Corrine, that's a K, that's power. Very strong. Very person got a lot of integrity. So I start thinking, but I start feeling what the name really sounds like and how that name and the letters of that name begin to speak back to me. This is just something I developed over those many years. It's the same when I would read a tarot card, when I would teach someone how to read the cards. I would say when you first get the deck of cards, those cards are stacked in a certain order. They're not mixed. They're stacked so that you have the major arcana cards, 22 cards, on top of the 78 cards. And most, if I'm not mistaken, when you're looking at the 56 cards of the entire 78, 22 major arcana cards, 22 pathways, when you start looking at the other 56 cards, you're looking at the four suits. The four suits are the four elements. You might notice that the pentacles are on top. The next are the cups. The next are the swords. The next are the wands. So that means you got to pull the cards out. You're going to make sure they are in order. And you want to go from ace to 10. And then you want to go to page, knight, queen, king. Or if you're more into the divine feminine aspect, you can switch the position of the queen and king around. Because you got to use, after all these years of study, you have to use what works best for you. That's what I try to tell my students in numerology. I try to tell them when I teach them the tarot. You got to find what works for you eventually. Then it makes more sense to you how to read the card, how to read the number, how to read the color, how to read the plant. I've got a dragon tarot deck that I use, and sometimes I'm just noticing faces. How long have I had that deck? 3 years, 2 years. And I've used it numerous times and never noticed that there's a face in the rock, and the face is looking away from the viewer, me, the tarot reader. Sometimes I'll tell my students, after you divide these cards up, you look at all the aces, all the twos, all the threes, all the way to all the tens. Then you look at all the knight, all the pages, all the knights, all the queens, all the kings, or flip it in reverse, kings and queens. Once you do that, you're going to see some similarities between the pentacles and the swords and the cups and the wands. You might see it in the way the deck is designed. You might see it in the colors. You might see it in the symbols that they share. But you're going to see a language being spoken to you. I often tell my students, treat it like it's a theater. And they say, well, what do you mean? Okay, I always pick something simple. Let's pick the Two of Cups. A man and a woman exchanging cups, exchanging a vow, sharing a drink. In the Weight Rider deck, not only do you see the man approaching the woman with a cup in one hand, but you see someone in the background walking away. The man approaches the woman to give her a cup. She's going to give her cup. He has something in his cup. She has something in her cup. But there's somebody walking away. What does it feel like to you? Because the person walking away, they're not turning around watching. They're not looking over their shoulder. They're walking away literally. I used to always present that to represent a secret rendezvous. That person doesn't know this is going on behind their back. I used to take the Empress card. You see the woman laying on that little divan like couch or seated there. She's playing with the lion's tongue. And it reminded me of an instant phrase: take the bull by the horns and the lion by the jaws, because she's playing with his jaw and his tongue. I mean, take control of the situation. But I used to tell the people, treat it like a theatrical scene, like you went to the theater and it's just you and the figures in the card. And they're big, really big figures. You walk up onto the stage and you're looking at the man, how he's dressed. You're looking at the woman, how she's dressed. Now you're inside the frame with them. They don't see you, but you can see them. You see how they're dressed. You can see the facial expression. See how the hair is coiffed. See if they're wearing anything else that will let you know there's something more to that picture. Or you might be out and about, two of cups still. You might be out and about walking around and see two people seated together talking about real estate, mortgages, contracts, insurance papers, deeds, trust funds, agreements. Two of cups or two of pentacles. You're going to see something. Two of pentacles has a person juggling. The sign of Lumisket, one end up, one end down. One coin up, one coin down. And in the Weight Rider deck, one foot off the ground and the other one on the ground. You got to put all these things into your mind. But if you study Egyptian philosophies, which I haven't had a chance to go deeply into or enough, but you could study what those cards mean and how those cards talk to you. After a while, they are going to talk to you. After a while, you do numerology enough times, it's going to talk to you. You're going to realize these numbers got something to say. They're just not on a piece of paper. I just drew the number on a piece of paper, but I felt the number when I drew it on a piece of paper. What does that mean? You can get very much out there into understanding what these numbers are. So, so I don't get too far off. For those of you that are tuned in, I got a piece of paper here and I have a pen. Does anyone have a comment or a question about numerology, about dreams, about anything? Oops, I took myself off screen. I'm in here. I can look at what I'd like to play around with tonight is to look at, there we go, to look at a color and a number. So think about it for a moment. A color and a number. It could be a master number. It could be a double digit number where the two numbers are different. It could be a color with a number, which is what I'd like to see, a color and a number, or two colors and a number. Take a moment and clear your mind. Just kind of relax your mind a little bit and see what comes to mind to you. I'm going to take off my headset because I need to take my glasses off, getting a strong reflection here. And I want to be able to hold on to the phone. So bear with me a little bit. Got a peek of my library back there. All right. Who would like to give me a color and a number? First of all, while we are waiting for that, it shows one person on here, but at the same time, there were some people that came through. Hema Sankia, thank you for popping in. Willow Rose triple eights underscore triple eights. J Paulette Designs, thank you for popping through. BJ Smith 5, thank you. And Carib Jazz 55, thanks. Also, Taurus underscore gal 513. Any one of you are there on Instagram, and whoever's here with me, C. McDonald, here, if you have a color with a number or two colors with one number, I'll give you a brief analysis of what it feels like. In the meantime, feel free to ask some questions, whether you place them here in Instagram or you place them here in my YouTube channel. Now, keep in mind, at some point, you may not want to ask anything, but this is a live chat. So, and the live chat will be replayed. Okay, once it goes through the cycle and gets set into my system. So, one of the things that you can do is you can come back later and pop your question in, or if you don't want to do it that way, you can email me. You can email me at IAM, and I'll put it here. Those of you that are in Instagram, my name is at the top there of your screen. It says IAM.circleofgrace1. So all you have to do is send it to my Gmail, your question. Just write IAM.circleofgrace1 at gmail.com, and I'll answer your information of a color and a number. If you're here on YouTube, I'll type it in over here. Let's see if I can get it here. You can also question with a color here. Either way, which is comfortable for you. Or you can head to my website and click on where it says contact, and then you could write it out there. Either way, I'll get the notification. So I've been on for about an hour and 34 minutes. People who take classes with me, one of the things you'll know is I'm long-winded at times. I got to talk. I was telling my colleague, Michelle Vidal, I said, when I was in grade school, I didn't talk much. I was quiet. While I was in high school, I didn't talk much. I was quiet. Got into college, then I started talking. But for the most part, I was quiet in my English lit classes, sociology class, philosophy class. The only class that I felt comfortable talking in, and I was still shy, I was an art major, so I could talk. Well, I was familiar with the territory. It happens. We go from being silent to being a blaring trumpet. We only talk, or I only talk, when I feel comfortable with something that I know, or I can feel that I could connect with you. Well, if there's no question, but again, you could email it to me. So at some point, I'll pick it up tonight in the email and email you back. Also, let me know what you like about the topics. I like the flow. As you can see, I have different things that pop up, and I might jump from one topic to the next, but you're getting information. If you're here on YouTube, just click the like button and click to subscribe, or you could send your email address to iam.circlegrace1@gmail.com and say, can you put me on your email list so when you announce that you're doing something, I can get the information. And I'll do that for you. So one of the things that's coming to mind, and I'm going to talk a little bit. I mean, this book won't be done until maybe the tail end of 2023, but I'm going to push it out there for 2024. I have the title, but I don't want to say, I've mentioned the title off and on over the last month or two, but I don't want to keep mentioning the title yet. But it's going to be devoted to how I teach meditation, and it's going to be devoted to how you could activate, connect, and stay in constant communication with your higher self. And this is going to be a book devoted on meditation and the different things that you could do to help open you up into that. I might pull a section from my numerology book and put it in there. I don't know yet. That section would be giving you the affirmation of numbers 0 through 9. I might put that in there. All these things are important because we have to get really clear with ourselves and how we could participate on a greater level for ourselves. And this is essential to our overall well being. We want to make sure that we are evolving, that we're graduating, that we're understanding what metaphysics is, what spirituality is. To me, they're actually one and the same. To others, they're slightly different. If you study my friend here, DM Vidal, when you get her book, she'll tell you metaphysics is incorporating everything from man made science to astrophysics to everything, philosophy, you name it, in order to understand where we are in this greater concept, this greater world. Spirituality is all that is light coming through you. I was reading a meme that someone, a good friend of Michelle and myself, and one of Michelle's other students, this young woman's name is Arya, and Arya Sweta. She lives in India, and she puts up a lot of positive memes. And one of these memes that was up there said, "One day I find out that I am my own angel." Or I am my spirit guide. And that is true. That is very possible because as we evolve, for ourselves, there's going to be a time, a moment that comes up where those of us who understand numbers and numerology, those of us who understand the angles of numbers in astronomy and astrology and how all this works, one day we, the students, the more adept we get, we don't have to use it. Just like I teach people with pendulums. The real purpose of the pendulum has nothing to say. But I have some people that, let's see what the pendulum has to say. Pendulum has nothing to say. It's an extension. It's an extension of you who holds the pendulum. But the one who's giving you the answer flowing through you is your higher self. When you get to that, then you realize as you work with the pendulum that you become a living pendulum because it fine tunes you to feel that energy rolling through your body in a very condensed and detailed way. You realize you're the pendulum, you're the dowsing rod, you're the gemstone, you're the deity connected to the gemstone. You're part of the David kingdom and queendom yourself. You're part of the bird kingdom. You're part of the sky. All these things are interacting with you. As they say in quantum physics, 0 point. You get to 0 point, you see everything, feel everything, communicate with everything on point. And everything around you is communicating with you on point. So you learn how to pay attention to this still small voice, what it's been telling you the whole time, or what it wants you to know. But you begin to pay attention to it. And that's the blast. That's the thing you want to be able to do. So if I don't have any questions, I'm going to get ready to sign out. Before I do that, I just want to reiterate again, I have my own numerology book back here. It took quite some time, 20 years of should I write it? Nah, I'm not ready to write it. Having Lloyd Strayhorn say, write the book, write the book, write the book. I'm not ready, Lloyd. I'm not ready yet. Write the book. And then I started writing this book in 2020, putting it together, paying attention how I was teaching my classes and coming up with this. So it's a great way for anybody can use this book as a study guide. I keep it as simple as possible, and I use one iconic figure in this book because that iconic figure wanted to be in this book. I had no idea I was going to put him or her in here until they showed up in my residence with my ancestors to say, I want to be in the book. I have the perfect things that happened in my life that pertain to what you're writing about. So that individual is in this book as a sample how to read somebody, their name, their entire name, and their date of birth. My course, The Key to Life is Numerology, is based on this book. So many of the things that are in this book are going to be in that course. If you buy this book, you will be able to follow along much better than just me sending you out some information. Also, when the course is over, I'm going to still send you information. I'm going to send you some audio clips. Let me put it here. I'm going to send you some audio clips. I'm going to send you also things that lead to um, some video material. I have a PDF set up already. It's kind of different than what I would normally set up as an ebook, but you're going to get it for free, and it's called The Power of Numbers 1 through 9 or 0 through 9. And it's going to be like a summary, but a little twist to it. So if you have this book and you sign up for my numerology course, And again, you can catch the early bird fee, which is $293. Got to catch it and pay it up between January the 2nd, 2023 and January the 18th of 2023. Now, if you miss that window of opportunity, it goes up to the regular price of $400. But you get 4 weeks to pay it off because that gate opens up on January the 19th and it closes out at midnight Eastern Standard Time on February the 19th. So if you said, hey, I missed that early bird price, can I still get in the course? All you got to do, you're going to send me $100. That's going to get you in the course, but you got to be finished paying it off by the time we hit to the 19th. But the classes begin. The course begins on Wednesday, February the 1st. Wednesday night, February the 1st at 7 p.m. That's when this course starts, and it's going to end on May 31st, 2023. And what's unique about this, I'm not a drill sergeant. Sometimes we have things that pop up in our lives all the time. We can't keep up with everything. So some people are going to pay for this course, and I know there's going to be some emergency that's going to happen down the line. And you're going to have to email me and say, oh, God, I've taken 3, 4, 5 courses in this emergency, and I got to step out of town. Well, you don't get left out of the loop because you paid for the course. So I will do something so you catch up. Okay. For people who pay into the course, you're going to get each week a synopsis video of what you studied. Right in terms of with a review, you get a synopsis. You don't get the full unless for some reason you happen to miss out. Again, emergency, that I'll send you the whole class at that point that you missed, along with a summary video. We've got ways so you can learn this material. But part 1, we deal with the name. And then after part 1, we do a review of the entire series, pick out some of the highlights for you. And then we jump in and complete this course. But it's 18 weeks, just like a college course, getting a lot of information. 12 paid classes, 6 free classes, which are the reviews. And then at the end, you get some more information. So sign up as soon as you can if you're very interested in taking this course. If for some reason, hey, you don't have the money for the early bird fee or this, you just might want to take an introductory class. That means like a one-time class or a few classes. Then you pay $88 per class to get just some insight. Now, if you decide, okay, I missed the whole gap of time of the group, how can I take this course? Well, I'll take the money that you paid for the individual class and subtract it from the full fee. You can still take it, but you'll be taking it as one-on-one with me. And you can still get your how many classes. So you'll knock off 3 outside of 18, and then you just got 15 weeks to go. Still going to get the information. It's important that you get it. You're not left out of the loop so you can exercise it. And what I'm planning to do months down the road later, like in the fall or coming up, for people who have taken the full 18 weeks of this entire course, you might want to review it. I'll make it more capsulized for you and give you a huge discount. Go and get the information. You just might want to play around with the numbers period on the name, or you might want to play around with the numbers period on the date of birth. There's ways of teaching this. I'm passionate about sharing. I'm a spiritual counselor for over 40 years, and it's all about, no matter what I'm teaching, it's all about helping you have greater clarity in your life and get to know your purpose. We find out your purpose in astrology, palmistry, tarot, day-to-day purpose, numerology, overall, with the pinnacles and challenges in day-to-day. We can help you. I'm here to help you out. So I'm going to sign off. I have to help another elder friend of mine get some information about something I did for her. So these are the two books. Now, you may not want to take this course, but go to my website, www.circleofgrace1. So if you're on Instagram, you don't put IAM, you're just going to put www.circleofgrace with the number one at the end, .us, single forward slash at the end. Boom. That'll take you to my website and you can see all the other classes, courses that I got there. Also, for those of you who are on here, you may not know, uh, and those of you that are over here on YouTube, once a month on the second Tuesday of the month, I do for free. I do for free a free enrichment training class. It runs about 90 minutes. It's absolutely free. I pick a few topics, one or two topics, and we explore them so you get insight. That's free. I have my creative pathwork meditation groups. I get to do two of them a month. Now, coming up starting here in January, it's going to be played out a little differently because usually I do the first Sunday afternoons at 3 p.m. using my Zoom account, live video it, and you get a copy of it. And it costs you, let's say, if you're age 62 and older, it'll only cost you $20. And if you're not a senior, it'll cost you 25. Well, I can email all that information to you so you can learn how to pay for that, pay for individual classes, or pay for these courses. Also, usually on the second Tuesday evening, on the first Tuesday evening, I should say, of the month, the first Tuesday evening once a month, I do the Creative Pathwork meditation again at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. What happens? You learn about guided meditations, how to put them in motion in a group, either one on one or myself and two, three other people. And we do a little planetary healing meditation at the end. So you get that twice a month. But since the first Sunday is going to be New Year's Day, then the first Sunday is going to be melded or welded into the first Tuesday, which will be January the 3rd at 7 p.m. So there's a lot of things. Go to the website, check it out, read it, take your time. Go and read everything that's up there. I got something called Understanding Your Dreams, Dreamscapes, Understanding Your Dreams. It's a blog. You can go up there and it runs every 2 months. You can go in there and read some information about dreams and symbols and things. I talk about the numerology book. I even have somewhere in there some audios. You can listen to an audio and I think like a little bit of meditation on some of those audios. So I'm going to sign off. If you are on my YouTube channel, Circle of Grace One, click like, click subscribe, or email me and say, hey, can you include me? Can you include me in your email so I know when you are going live? I want to thank you for joining me. Those of you that showed up, um, tell your friends. If you come over to YouTube, now sometimes I have the YouTube channel set so you can't just anybody just can't pull off these videos, but I got a lot of them. I got over I think 150, 200, 167 videos dating all the way back I think to 2017 up in here. But all you have to do is say, "Hey, brother Francis, I couldn't pull it off. Could you send me the link?" And I would share it with my friends, and I'll most certainly do that for you. I'm going to sign off now. I see my phone is blinking. I got some nieces from California calling in, and I got people in Arizona. They've gotten some emails from their uncle, which is me. So I'm going to say good evening. My grace is your grace. Until next time, remember that divine grace is a blessing as we are alive and well in the age of remembrance. Hope to see you all really soon. And again, email me if you need some questions answered. Take care of yourself. If you want information how to pay for any of these courses, I'll greatly send them off to you. Take care now, everybody. And thank you for being here with me this evening.